I wanted to do a quick video about something that came back onto my radar this week, which is the Queensland Indigenous Business Expo and Forum. So last year what we did, this is me wearing my Southeast Queensland Indigenous Chamber of Commerce hat. One of the things that we did last year is we organised an expo and a forum. And so it was at South Bank, and businesses came and they exhibited their products and their services, and then we had the forum on the inside. It's the forum that I want to talk about. So the idea of the forum was a couple of things. So we had a keynote speaker who was really deadly, but basically and this is my pitch, rather than having a full day of, because you can go a couple of ways. You can have a series of workshops where people are getting skills. I remember when we went to the Strong Women, Strong Business workshop in Adelaide, and a participant was kind of wandering the halls going, I thought I could get someone to help me with my capability statement. And I just said to her, I said, this is an inspirational event, not a skills development event. So just thinking about that, like that's one of the things I'm really interested in. Sometimes you do events because you want to inspire people or you want to inform them about a new practice or a new piece of research, and that's fine. It's kind of, so inspirational, informational, and then there's educational. And then the educational one is one where we're actually, hey, we're going to have a workshop on, building, how to build a website or how to use social media or how to write a capability statement. So I used to do some workshops for the First Nations writers group, and there was a combination. So they had a combination of kind of literature type workshops, and then they also had skills stuff. So I did social media for them. But so when we were thinking about the forum, we're thinking, which way are we going to go? Are we going to, who will speak on this? What would the panel think? What are the panel themes? Who's going to speak? How many people should be on each panel? Who's going to be the MC, etc., etc. That is a big job. And so I said, what would be really interesting is, rather than us curate the day, us say these are the things we're going to talk about, instead what we do is we actually give the sector the chance to have the conversation, have kind of like what people used to talk about unconferences. So you have conferences and then you have an unconference where it's really participant driven. And so that's what we did. So we came up with this, and for want of a better term, many voices. So it's about really understanding that I think we too often will go, the Indigenous business sector needs X. The Indigenous business sector, this is their experience. This is the experience of that sector. These are the key issues. There's a lot of different groups within that Indigenous business sector, and we always are talking about it as a homogenous group, but there's lots of different groups within that group. And I'm not talking about organisations, but I'm talking about interests. And so we use the term special interest groups within this thing that is the sector. So you've got all of these groups within the sector. So it might be a regionally based group. Women in business, it could be LGBTQI people in business, youth, young people. It might be around a specific industry. So last year we had folks who create educational resources versus people in specific regions. So the idea of the Many Voices Forum is about, I think in 2023, we are now sophisticated. Well, we've always been sophisticated, not saying we're not sophisticated, but we're at a point now where we can go, okay, well, what are those specific needs within the sector, rather than just talking. Sometimes you need to say this is the sector and here's the issue. But there is a moment in time, there's definitely an opportunity for us to go, okay, well, what are all those different groups within that thing that we're actually calling a sector? And so my goal so SEQICC Media, our company, sponsored it. So our staff were there and we managed it, and we did a whole bunch of printing. We did all the designs in the printing. I'll show you, it's underneath my desk. But this is we did all these big canvases. And so these were the different groups. So what we did is we just called them yarns. So yarn number 1 was at 11:30, and it was Ways of Reviving Culture. Yarn 2 was University Supporting Indigenous Business Sector. Can't find the notes for that one. We've got one on procurement, one on the recruitment sector, industry practice, understanding training needs of the sector. I don't know what happened to that. Yeah. Educational resources, Indigenous youth, women in business. And then each group had sorry, I've got the camera on reverse so you can't actually read it, but you'll see it when I publish all of this stuff. And each group, so what's the context of the group, or the issue, key issues, what's working, what are some of the challenges, and then some clear actions. And the reason I wanted to do this video was because, well, we're planning the next QIBF, so they're planning the next Queensland Indigenous Business Expo and Forum, and it will be in Toowoomba. So our idea with the QIBF was that we would, we did it in 2022 in Southeast Queensland, and we want to do it every year in a different region in Queensland. So that way we all get to travel to across Queensland, because, you know, Southeast Queensland, while we may be the most populous, we're certainly not the only sector that has Indigenous businesses, and, you know, all of the issues that folks experience, you know, are different across the regions. But what I think will be really cool is if we can track, so that's what I was saying before. So everybody wrote down, we collected all of that, our team collected all of the notes, and I was supposed to type them all up. We did type them up, but I haven't actually sent them to everybody. So we're a little bit late for that. I was going to send them to everyone and go, hey, here you go. What actions do you want to take? So yeah, bit late. But we're now back in the zone of QIBF and back in the zone of, okay, this is actually a good idea. So we're still committed, SEQICC Media is still committed to driving this initiative for as long as people are happy for us to drive it. We pay for it, so but happy for other people to take it over. But I think what will be really interesting from maybe a research perspective is looking at the actions that come out every year and coming back to, so maybe in 2027, we come back and have a look at what we wrote in 2022. That's really interesting to me. It's like, ooh, that's like a real nice little decade-long adventure of, oh, this is what we all want to do, and then going, yes, let's do it. And some things will fall kind of off the list, but they may come back again in a few years' time, because I truly believe that sometimes things are meant to happen at certain times, you know. So you might have a good idea, but it may take ages, you know, it may take years, or the environment's not quite right for whatever that initiative is. So I'm really keen to follow that. So we have a staff member at the moment who's collating everything from last year. I apologise for it not getting out earlier. So he's collating that, and we will present that in the next week or so to the sector and go, hey, this is what you all talked about. Are you coming again next year? So that will be really cool. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. I think that there is an opportunity here for us to really track what Queensland looks like as we go forward. So, and I'm really proud of the work that the SEQICC Media team did last year in bringing it together. It was this, I was like, oh, we do this Many Voices Unconference, significant, and everybody's like, what is she talking about? As if it's, you know, and so I know a few people were like, a little bit like, what the hell was she talking about? But anyway, I think it worked out really well. It was much easier to organise because you just let people talk. And the other thing that we did last year also is we actually had a form where people could nominate, hey, this is what I want to talk about. And we had a few sort of planted ones. So the Women in Business one, I asked Carol to do that. And, you know, there's a couple of people that did stuff. But the idea is that if you wanted to talk about something, just go over to the forum registration desk and go, hey, I'm talking about this at 2:30 this afternoon. So the tricky part will be every region will have different physical layouts. So sometimes it may be more conducive to small group yarns. Other times it may not be conducive. So, you know, who knows? And then what I'd love to also do, and I think we might commit this, and I'm putting this out into the ether now, we might actually do a yarn. We can do yarns online. We don't have to wait for the forum. We don't actually have to wait for big events. We can actually do them online and we can all just turn up. Might do that. I might schedule that, actually. I might schedule a few of those, maybe once a quarter or twice a year we have a forum and where people get to meet. And I was saying to one of the to the team today, is like, what if we, if we commit to that and actually, email people, this is what they said, and check in on folks and say, and then update other people. Like, so for instance, what have we got here? So this is an interest group on recruitment. So one of the things, a pilot program for upskilling Indigenous people. That's a bit vague. Going through all the cultural awareness programs. So that was an issue that an action that they wanted to raise. So when that action actually takes place, let everybody in the whole forum know that this action has taken place and it came out as a result of this. So that's just a couple of the things. I know this video is a bit long. Oh my gosh, I've gone over 10 minutes already. But yeah, I'm really interested in tracking this over a decade and just see what happens. It may die, you know, that's okay. But it may not, and we may actually be able to make a change, or maybe it'll help bring about change in particular. And sometimes I think too, the changes can be really small. Like, they don't have to be like these massive policy things. Sometimes they're little changes. And if you've done my training, you know that that's small steps. Business is small steps. Business is lots and lots of small steps. So that's it. I just wanted to talk about QBIF. I will put some links in the show notes of this video. So if anybody's interested in finding out more information, the next Queensland Indigenous Business Expo and Forum will be in Toowoomba on the 19th of October for Indigenous Business Month. So really excited about that one and really keen to be involved again. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. I'll make another video later. See ya.